Hey gamers, it's Max from Max Tech Studios. Hey, I just want to show you a YouTube channel I think is really cool. It's called Technoid. He makes some really cool, short, to the point tech news videos talking about the latest stuff that goes on in the cell phone plan and the cell phone industry, as well as more general tech stuff. You know, stuff about the OnePlus Watch, stuff about the upcoming Carrier Mobile X. Some really nice live streams. Definitely subscribe to his channel. We got to get him to 3,000.
Alrighty, fanboys and fangirls, today's episode is rich, filled with tons of stories, and it all begins with T-Mobile, as we're going to talk about the T-Vision cancellation and the new partnership with Google, why it is a good thing, but also a very, very sad thing as well. Also on today's episode, T-Mobile is teasing a new Uncarrier move, and I have a strong feeling what it might be. I'll explain in this episode. Also on today's episode, Apple has announced WWDC 2021. We will discuss what you can realistically expect. Also, a new Apple TV is on the way, all thanks to a new remote that I covered. I cannot believe that is true. And lastly, Samsung is working on a brand new second generation of Galaxy Buds, and I'm here to tell you why I think Samsung has completely lost it with the lineup. All that on today's episode, so stay tuned. YouTube, what's poppin'? Michael here, welcome back to Technoid. I hope you're doing well, hope you're all staying safe. Now again guys, today's episode is rich, filled with stories. You are not going to want to miss these. And if you enjoyed the content, again guys, subscribe, notifications on. Again, we got a lot to pump out and I'm here to accelerate it. So, all that out of the way, let's get it going. So story number one, the main story is the two T-Mobile stories. Now we're going to start with the Uncarrier Next announcement. I'm going to talk about that and then we'll talk about T-Vision. But story number one is, of course, the scheduled 5G themed Uncarrier event. Now, again, this was pushed out on Twitter by a lot of people, and again, shout out to Steam Bubble Tech and tons of other cellular YouTubers talking about this. This announcement basically hints at what is going on with T-Mobile and their next big move. Now, we will talk about, again, T-Vision going away, but in their new move, it looks like they're gearing up to make a new quote-unquote Uncarrier move, which, again, T-Mobile, come on. You guys are not the Uncarrier anymore. We all know John Ledger was the Uncarrier. You're not the Uncarrier, so stop with that Uncarrier gimmick. You know you're trying to get rid of it, so just stop saying that. But anyway, according to this announcement, it basically says Uncarrier Next. Want a hint, and you don't really get much, but you do see some little bit of stuff in the background. But the idea of this event will happen on April 7th, and it seems like they're going to announce a 5G themed announcement, and I have a strong feeling it is going to be the big push on home internet. Now, as you know, T-Mobile did have home internet for a while. They have been doing beta testing. They have been charging it regularly. But it seems there's a possibility they are going to finally push the trigger and go full worldwide distribution in the United States anyway. And, you know, I'm 50-50. The reason I'm 50-50 is this. I'm going to start with positive before I talk about the negative. The reason I'm for this is because I think T-Mobile now has enough to finally roll this out to consumers. There are a lot of options out there, but on a realistic level, there have been a lot of people that have used them and shown some reliability, as Steam Bubble Tech has been a user of T-Mobile 5G, so there does show promise, and I am interested to see how they utilize the capacity on their networks. But then that leads right to my other negative, is that their capacity is still not up to par. Now again, getting rid of T-Vision does help reduce the strain on the network, but here's the thing. If you watch Steam Mobile Tech's video, you will see that in the beginning it starts out perfectly. The internet is nice and fast, there are off-peak hours where it does give you a little bit of extra juice, but then all of a sudden it just, boom, crash. It did not even make a recovery, like it died. If you watch his video, he chronologically explains what happened. And it could be because of the strain on the network, so many users and they just don't have the capacity. Now, of course, T-Mobile has made some improvements, so I can't sit here and judge. They have made some improvements, but I'm a little bit worried about this rollout because if they do this rollout and they can get so many customers, I'm concerned they're not going to be able to meet the demand, and then you're going to see a lot of problems and a lot of users saying, oh, this is terrible, I'm paying for A and B, and it might be a mess. So I really do hope T-Mobile, you figure this thing out. Don't make this boring announcement or try to hype it up when it's really nothing. And Mike Sievert, look, as CEO, I gotta be honest, I'm not impressed. So you really gotta do a lot to impress me on this, and I really hope you do. Because right now, your track record right now is not looking very well, and I'll explain that as we segue to the next story. Alrighty, story number two, let's talk about the T-Vision going dead. Now, T-Mobile has made a partnership with Google. They have had a strong partnership, but this is a long-term partnership. and basically they will be partnering with Google to bring Google services to Android users, and of course probably other users as well, iOS users, but not exactly. For the Android user, you will be getting enabled RCS on the T-Mobile network. It will become standard. You don't have to worry about it being waited to add on your phone or whatever. They're going to add the universal profile from the get-go, so that is a good positive. They will also be rolling out end-to-end encryption with RCS. You will also have access to Google One storage, which is a nice positive, and you will get a lot of premium features if you are an Android user. All nice and well, but the main thing everybody's been talking about is, of course, killing off T-Vision. Now, T-Vision was something they released a couple months back, and honestly, you could see there was no enthusiasm, there was no hype for it. I, for one, thought it was decent. I didn't think it was terrible, but I knew it wasn't going to make a big splash, and of course, T-Mobile did too, because they are going to replace T-Vision with YouTube TV. Now, a couple of hints have hinted at this. For number one, if you go to the stores, you will see T-Vision is in the back of the store. And you know, when anything is in the back of a store, it's on its way out. Just like OnePlus phones, except they never move them to the front of the store and keep pushing them in the back. But the point is that there were signs pointing at this, and we knew this was going to happen for a while. But it's just so shocking to see that it happened so quick. And honestly, I gotta call Mike Sievert out on this. Listen, Mike, look, I make jokes about you, I call you names, and you know what? I know you don't care, but you know what, Mike? I'm gonna tell you the truth. This is on you. This is not on anybody else. This is not on John Ledger. This is not on anyone. This is a you failure. And I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, John Ledger proposed the idea of T-Vision. He introduced it. He never got to complete it. You stepped in as CEO, and your initiative as a CEO is to complete the missing project, which you did. You completed it, but if you watched the event, you literally had no idea where this was going. You tried to market this as a cheaper alternative TV source, and in reality, it was about the same as YouTube TV, but with a little less. And then, a couple months later, just when you finally get it rolling out, you then decide, oh, you know what, we're just gonna pull the plug. So it shows you never had any interest to want to expand this project or have any hype set up for it, and most of all, you were that quick to pull the plug before giving it at least a year. You killed T-Vision faster than it took Apple to literally kill the HomePod first generation. At least Apple kept it on the market for a couple of years and then finally said no. You pulled it off 3 months and didn't even give it a chance to express worldwide. Now, it could be a lack of consumers signing up, but overall, this is on you, Mike, and you have to take the accountability on this one. Now, there is a positive, there is a good side to this, as YouTube TV is a little bit better, and you do get a $10 discount. But overall, I think this is a bad look on T-Mobile, because even though there's a lot of promise and a lot of things to come, my issue with T-Mobile is that there is not enough capacity for their home internet if they're going to push this on 5G home internet. The killing of T-Vision is not a good look on a whole, but most of all, this doesn't give a good positive image of the company. Now, I get it, they have the Magenta Max plans, there's a lot of YouTubers covering it, and you know what, that's fine. You're going to have people that cover this stuff, but at the end of the day, to me, I have more questions than I have answers with T-Mobile going forward, and I think now is not the time to panic, but now is the time to start putting into question if this is starting to be a real deal. Because if you can't produce home internet and you can't produce with your own T-Vision service, I am very worried. And if you wondered why they charged $10 more for their home internet last month, I think we know our answer why. It was because they wanted to make back what they lost on T-Vision. So, good job, T-Mobile. Excellent. Alrighty, now that we're done with T-Mobile, let's get these stories out of the way. Next story up is WWDC. Now, as you know, Apple has this event every year. They announced it pretty early this year. We usually get an announcement in April or May, but of course, we got it early, and realistically, all software updates. Do I need to say anything else? There are hints here and there in the ad, but come on, did you really think I was going to drag this story out? Come on, it's WWDC. We'll talk about that later, but at least you know it will be happening in June from the 7th to the 11th, so now you know. Alrighty, next story. This is a follow-up story to what I talked about in a previous episode where I covered that the tvOS 14.5 beta talked about a new controller, and this new tip has now led experts to believe that a new Apple TV is in the works and that it will have a next-generation controller. Now, we don't know exactly the details, but taking a look at the code a little bit more, it seems that this new controller is going to utilize some new commands, new buttons, maybe possibly a new format instead of that glass finish because people hated the glass. But we will see what happens. But it's interesting that you can make an article based off a controller. Like, it's amazing. And I get it, it doesn't sound that off because if you're going to make a new controller, you're going to make a new Apple TV. But it's just amazing how people come up with this stuff. That's easy. I mean, hey, you can make clickbait all you want, but that's actually some pretty decent marketing. And last story, the Galaxy Buds 2s. Now, this one I saved for last because I want to spend a couple minutes on it. Now, as you know, I'm a huge fan of the Galaxy Buds. I have owned every single Galaxy Bud lineup, from the original to the Plus to the Live to the Pros. I have owned them all. I have owned all of the Galaxy Buds, and one of my favorites is the Plus version. I truly love the Plus. But I will admit that there are a lot on the market right now, and Samsung, I am getting the feeling that you're not discontinuing a lot because, according to the next report, the Galaxy Bud 2, the second generation buds are coming. And Samsung, I gotta ask a question. Listen, I love the product. I do think they are great. I like what the Galaxy Buds can do. I do like that they work very fairly with iOS, but Samsung, I gotta ask you, don't you think you have enough headphones? I mean, come on, you saturated your whole headphone market around a severe lineup that you can literally find a pair for every needs and want. And it's not the problem that you have so much, it's that you release them so frequently that there's no reason to upgrade from them or buy them or justify them. Like if you bought the Galaxy Buds Plus a year apart, that might be justifiable. But then you release the Live 6 months later, then another 6 months, you do the Pros. Now you're gonna do a second generation bud and you're not discontinuing one of these buds. I'm sorry, Samsung, you're saturating your lineup. And it does not feel like you understand what you're trying to grab. Now I get it, the Buds Live, the Buds Pro, and maybe the Buds Plus should be the three you have right now. Why do you need the original Galaxy Buds? Maybe for an entry price? I don't know. But honestly, I feel like you're oversaturating your lineup, and if you're making a new second generation type, you better figure out how you're gonna do this because that is a lot of headphones and I don't know how many more people could keep up. So we'll see what they do, and I'll keep an eye on it. And that is it for today's episode of Technoid. Now guys, again, this was a long episode, so I appreciate if you watched the whole thing. If you did, hit the like button. If you disliked the video, hit the dislike button. That helps circulate my videos as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next episode. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Stay safe, and peace!